Hi there. Good morning, folks. Welcome to a Monday morning. Strange we should be talking firstly about Turffontein racing on a Monday. It doesn't ordinarily happen. I'm not sure what happened with the program, but there's been a shift around in days. Secondly, it's strange that Neil Andrews joins me for a preview of this busy and hectic schedule. The last thing I want to say is between the two of us, we're looking extremely bedraggled. Time is catching up with us.
Man, you look more bedraggled because of that headgear you're wearing. Obviously, Zimbabwe playing South Africa today, but your Zimbabwean team done well. They did well to knock out West Indies and Scotland. Yeah. So well done.
Yeah, so I'm torn, as you can see. The reason I'm wearing this because I've been telling my two boys it's very difficult for Dad to choose which side he wants to win today. So part of me wants the Zimbabwe bird to go forward, and the other part wants the other side. So that's why I've decided to wear these two hats to confuse my kids more than anything else.
Yeah. Well, South Africa, I don't know. I mean, with Bavuma, is he still opening?
Well, we'll wait to see what the team selection is when it comes up, Neil. But we're going to go through the card just now. Yeah. But I just quickly want to tell the folks out there, Neil, if you'll allow me just 2 minutes to just tell the people out there that it is another week for our Clocking the Gallop direct line, because it is the On a Mission Mile sponsored by Allied Steel Road this weekend. So we've got the 4 days of our tipping schedule where all of our team get together and work out what bets and what tips we'll give you. And that's operating over Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, starting this Friday. Make sure that if you do your payments, you put your name and your mobile number as your reference on your deposit slip, and then send us through the deposit slip to either our email address, clockingthegallop@gmail.com, or WhatsApp us on 07939054747. Neil, I know that you're very busy doing one thing or the other, but I know that our whole team, including Lyle Cooper's behind this, and we're looking forward to people coming on board by Friday.
Yeah, and I'll have a look certainly at the Sunday meeting at Kenilworth, Nico, because we've seen some quality horses running down there. Now we're heading into Cape Guineas, Phillies Guineas season. And speaking of that, Charles Dickens, well, those great expectations are getting delivered. Another superb performance.
Absolutely. It was mind-blowing, actually, the way that horse quickened up. But I saw it the previous run, Neil, just the way the horse quickens up. And, we had our debates on what distance it'll see out eventually. There's no problem, I think, with a mile. We're all in agreement on that. The question is further. Does he get further? And I think we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. And maybe it is time for the discussion with the great minds talking about great expectations. Maybe now's the time to have that discussion with Mike Wanklin, Jay August, and Graham Hawkins, and we can have that long discussion about what's going to happen. So I'll set that up. But anyway, let's get on with the business at hand. We're racing today at Turffontein, 9 races carded on the inside track, and it is starting all off at midday today, so a pretty early start with a maiden plate over 1,000 meters. I can tell you an equipment change, number 3, Tanganga, no blinkers, Neil. That's the update in the first race. They've taken the blinkers off that. Right, I'm going to let you open up and tell us what your thoughts are on the first race while I put up the betting, where all the money has been for number 8, Siberian Steel, and now finds itself pretty much in the red at 7 or 7.5 to 10.
Well, if that is the case, I think it's a bit short. Maybe when it opened up at something around even money, fair enough. But 7 to 10, I wouldn't be rushing off to take, because there's 2 horses that have been gelded here, Nico, and I think they can improve. I'm not suggesting they're going to improve to win, but let's start with number 2, Triamici, who's a Vercingetorix out of an Argentinian mare, and had some fair form, but the gelding and Muzzy riding from a fair enough draw, I think, could offer some improvement. And the other one that does interest me is actually the stable companion to Siberian Steel, Joyous Jubilee, who's a son of Caravaggio out of a Rock of Gibraltar mare, drifted like a barge on debut, from 2 to 1 to 11 to 2, and ran accordingly, but was immediately gelded the next day. It actually ran on my birthday, the 16th of June, and it was gelded the next day, which is probably what should have happened to me after my birthday. But I do think that that's significant. Not striding out, so I mean, let's be frank, it's not a family show, so you can say I'm sure his bollocks were troubling him I mean, if he wasn't striding out, so he's going to look a completely different horse. He's owned and bred, interestingly, by Mary Slack in her Australia operation in New South Wales.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the most interesting runner for me is definitely Joyous Jubilee. Clearly, the money's poured on Siberian Steel, so I assume that the stables say that Siberian Steel is that much more advanced. But I will be looking at Joyous Jubilee for the notebook at the very least. Your take on it?
Well, just some interesting news, so when Mary would have sent Pink Jubilee to Caravaggio, the stud female was 35,000 euros back in 2018. So you're talking, if you took the euro at even 15 to 1, you're talking £500,000 rand, and they've gelded it. So, it's a pretty big investment to geld the horse after its debut run. So I'm thinking it's a big move, and I'll be watching this very closely, the fact that Joyous Jubilee has been gelded, Neil, to see any amount of improvement, because surely there's something left in the tank there. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. I don't think Siberian Steel is a 7 to 10 chance. It may well win, but I wouldn't be snaffling 7 to 10 about it. I'm expecting big improvement from the 10 to 1 chance Trey Amici after being gelded, and we're looking very closely at 5 Joyous Jubilee. I was very much the same way as you, Neil. I gave Covert Operator a chance last time out, and I called that race, Neil. He did move up to a point, but I wasn't convinced about him last time, so therefore I can't go for him again on what I saw through the binoculars last time out. Okay. Yeah. Let's move on. Race 2 is the start of the bipod, because there are 9 races today. So the bipod starts race 2 at 12:30. And that's interesting because you and I both thought that the bipod started in the first race. Just shows you the bipod actually starts in race 2 with this maiden plate for fillies and mares over 1,600 meters. So let's have a look at it, Neil. The betting, and by the way, let's have a look at the changes first. I'll quickly give you the changes because I think a few have filtered through. But not in that race. Okay, so that race looks like it's fine. Okay, Neil, the Sparkling Jubilee, Mike de Cox filly, 17 to 10, Cape Lights at 5 to 2. Those two top the mark. And then there's 8 to 1 about this horse called Ki Isaiah Azul, which means what a blue sky in Portuguese, I think.
Yeah. Okay, good knowledge.
Yeah.
Not really a blue sky today as well, I suppose. Yeah, it'll burn off.
It is. It's expected to rain, though, later. It is expected to rain. It could be in for a rain delay, Neil.
Nico, Sparkling Jubilee, let's start with her. I think I'm right in saying that this was Diane's birthday gift from Mike.
And I think it was anniversary.
Oh, was it an anniversary?
I think it was the anniversary around about that time. I think that was it. But you're right. It was a present to Di.
It was a present to Di. And she's racing with Team Haynes. Yeah, I mean, it's a daughter of Oratorio. Zirconian herself was pretty useful. And I suppose there was a bit of money for her. I suppose she does set a standard. But you like number 3, Cape Light. So you think that could certainly trouble her?
Yeah, I'm just going on that last run to Intoxicating. We see Intoxicating running later on, Neil. If Cape Lights, draw 9 out of 9, got to within a length of Intoxicating at levels, Neil, then you'd think that with Intoxicating quite highly rated, that I thought that was the horse to beat, actually, Cape Lights. I was quite strong in it, actually.
Yeah, so Cape Lights and Sparkling Jubilee. Is there anything a bit deeper? I mentioned to you number 4, Camerata, who was well beaten last time, but also had a horrible draw of 13 out of 13. So I kind of ignored that run.
Yeah, the only thing is, in terms of comparing that to Cape Lights, Neil, if you look at their ratings, I know you're not a big one to take the ratings as read, but if you do look at the ratings, there's 13 points difference between them. Yeah. Which would equate to 6.5 kilos. If that's the difference, you'd hate to think that they got it that wrong. But that said, it could well improve. I think I did like it last time out, even with the draw, and it didn't run on. But I just want to come back to the Soma runner, because Joey Soma has got some interesting runners on the card today. And I mentioned that to our group in a conversation last night, actually. amongst other things. But the fact of the matter is that this horse, if you like Cape Lights on the Bird and Space run, there's 0.1 of a length between them. And you've got K Say Azul at 8-1, and you've got Cape Lights at 5-2. That doesn't tie up at all. So I think if you're looking for value, then Soma's runner, the daughter of Karari, K Say Azul, which means, as I said, what a blue sky, I think would probably be the value in the race, Neil, and I wouldn't be looking to leave that out.
Yeah, but particularly because the debut run, there's been plenty of form from behind Time for Orchid, so it wasn't the worst debut, and it improved when stepped up to 1400. I would agree with that, Nico, because yeah, you don't want to get tumbling out of the first leg of the bipod, as you pointed out. It is the first leg of the bipod, so I would be very happy for you to add number 10.
Okay, we're going to go on to the third race, and we'll stick to the theme of Joey Soma here because we want to talk about Phantom of the Forest. I can tell you that they're well performed on debut number 9, Turffontein, who Alistair Cohen told me after he called the race, said to me, Nico, this is my horse to watch for the season. Scratched number 9, Turffontein. That's out. The other changes, no tongue tie for number 2, Phantom of the Forest. They've taken that off. And then number 4, Silver Viewpoint Races with a Cornell collar. Just quickly staying with Joey Soma, Neil. I remember this time last year, he had a very slow start to the season. And it's the same this season. He's only had one winner this season since the beginning of August, this season. And the same was the case last season. But when you look at last season, they seem to start stepping up the winners towards the end of October, which is sort of in line with what today brings. I'm expecting the Soma stable to feature today after looking at their form from last season. And if he goes about his business, which normally, you know, he's a traditionalist, is Joey. Yes. So he would sort of not change the way that he does things. And I think this is the horse to beat Phantom of the Forest, 2-1.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's my clear first choice, drawn 3. He's been poorly drawn the previous 2, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 11. So he'll appreciate being closer to the fence. He's got a pedigree, and I think Atlantic City is consistent. I can't take that away from him, but you know, he's been battling to shed his maiden. He's had 17 starts, whereas Phantom of the Forest has only had 6, and the 5 Lebezio has had only the 7 starts. So I think Atlantic City will probably run well, but for me, Phantom of the Forest, definitely, Nico. And you're right, Joey would, like many other trainers who, you know, not just numbers game, they've been waiting for the reins. We haven't had as much as we would normally have, but I think the reins are starting to come, so let's hope so. Yeah. But yeah, Phantom of the Forest, definitely my clear first choice, Nico.
Okay, let's move on to race number 4, which is a graduation plate, started at pick 6, 1600 meters, runs at 20-2. Here, number 5, Tinder Dry. The blinkers have come off Tinder Dry. So that is an equipment change, which has come through this morning. And Neil, again, this would be the older brigade versus the younger brigade debate. And we're talking the 2 3-year-olds at the bottom, Bless My Stars at 16-10 and Intoxicating at 6-1 versus Mike's Chick at 2-1 and then Queen of Shadows and Belvard at 8-1. So what's your take on this? Because it's comparing sort of the different generations. Where do you see the winner coming from?
I'm leaning towards the 3-year-olds, Nico, even though they are over a mile. So weight for age wise, it brings Mike's Chick and Queen of Shadows into the race. But I wouldn't say it's an overconfident. The more I looked at it, the more complicated I thought the race was. I then found, I'm just going off on a slight tangent, to have a rant, which my last major rant, I have a few. I just want to clarify that when I do have a rant, it generally is substantiated. Now, what's that Mike Miller filly, Monashada, that they gave 180 merit rate points to?
You mean Com Naidu's horse? Yeah, Com Naidu's horse, Monashada.
Com Naidu's horse. Anyway, that it then took them 3 months to drop down. I mean, look what happened to Definitely Maybe here, guys. I mean, come on. Yeah. It ran to rain in Holland. Fair enough. It ran to rain in Holland in the South African Fillies Classic. It ran 5th, beaten 6 lengths. My point is something has to run fifth. It
Yes.
got taken from a 79 to a 90. It
Yeah.
got given an 11 merit rated hike. Okay.
Yeah.
Now look at Tinder Dry. Tinder Dry ran to Rain in Holland, receiving 2 kilograms. Okay,
Yes.
and got beaten 7.25. Came out of the race a 78, stayed a 78.
Yes. Yes. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make
Well,
any sense.
there is some leeway. There's some leeway to suggest that definitely maybe is better than Tinder Dry, but not to that effect.
Well,
Now, I
not to
can't
the.
see how the one can be a 90, the other one a 74.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, they'd
I
come back with the argument that they can only they rate on performances, so they can't rate speculatively. In other words, they it has run
but
6 lengths to Ran Holland at levels, and therefore it must. But I mean, it ran fifth, like you said, it ran out the money, and it was hardly troubling it. It dropped from being 2 lengths back at the 400 to finish sixth. It wasn't finishing at it. It's not like it was a 6 length hard finish to Rain in Holland. So the 6 lengths needs to be taken on what the 6 lengths is, I think.
I understand Jay August and I are going to have this debate. We've had it before about many things. We had it, the first one was about sovereign spirit, and eventually he came back a year later and he said to me, he didn't necessarily agree with me, but he said, Neil, I want to thank you because you got me thinking about it. You see, the thing is that I don't think it can just purely be math. And I understand that they work on math, and they said, okay, it's run 6 lengths by, but there's no ways, in my opinion, there's no ways that definitely maybe is a 90. No, it can't be a 90 if Tinder Dry is a 74. So anyway, that was
Having
just
said
my
that,
ranting.
we don't like either of them.
No, I don't. I don't like
Yeah.
either of them.
Yeah.
Tinder Dry maybe blinkers off with Peters off, but I just think give a horse a chance, man. I mean, he was fair enough. I mean, so if it come out and run to the cop, so now it ran to the cop off a 90 and it got beaten 12 lengths, understandably, in my opinion. So, but until let a horse
And it's still a 9.
show that it's a
And it's
champion.
still a 9.
It's not like we're all going to pull off a betting coup because definitely maybe stayed off a 79.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, maybe it deserved to go up a few points, but to a 90, 11 points. Sure, went up 5.5 kilograms. Anyway, that's my rant of the day. Bless my stars, Nick. I like it. I like this pedigree. You know what? This was bought for 280,000 off Turffontein. I wish I bought it.
Yeah.
What a pedigree! Because you'll remember Star Express. She was a tremendously tough filly. Loved her, and she's a give me the green light. So yeah, I'd have to talk about the elephant in the room, which is ex-Paul Peter. I think there's been one winner.
Yeah, it won on Friday. I called it home.
Yeah.
Raffinero Gel. Yeah.
This, though, has had, Bless My Stars has had a run, and so has Queen of Shadows. They're both ex-Paul Peter. They both have had a run, so it'll be interesting to see now. We've seen statistically that first run, having left Paul, hasn't gone down well. We've had one winner. We'll see what the stat is for the second run after they've left the Paul Peter yard. But it is a fact that they haven't started, those horses haven't exactly picked up from where they left off.
Okay, so final comments on it. You're with Bless My Stars. I think that those older horses, even though they're carrying 60, I thought Queen of Shadows at 8-1 was a bit tasty for me. I thought it would run a good race. I'm putting in all the top 2 older horses and the 2 younger horses in my perms there.
Yeah, Nico, that was a terrific run from Mike's chick last time, but she only just got overhauled late by Hollywood Bound. So you've got to respect her.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to race 5, a merit rated 96 handicap. It's over 2,000 meters. In the 5th race, number 7, Captain, has blinkers instead of the cheek pieces. So they've taken the cheek pieces off and put the blinkers on. I gave that a chance actually at 14-1, but look at all the support for King's Crusade, Neil. Opened 4-1 and is into 5-2. And we were speaking to him the other day. He was very disappointed that he wasn't working with Joey Soma any longer, Julius Mariba. But here we go. Yeah, it's turned around for him.
Yeah, and I just think this is very well in, Nick. As I said to you when we chatted in the car this morning, on handicapping for me, he's got Flashy Apache, the Cop, beaten on multiple lines. He's also, although the captain's going to be 3 kilograms better off with him after the Naval Guard for me, beat him by 4.75. So he should still beat him again there. Actually, sorry, that's the other horse. That's Flashy Apache. But yeah, when I first looked, I thought I'm going to like Captain, and I do. I give him a bit of a chance because I think he's going to go handy, and he looks pretty well enough for galloping away to 53.5. But equally, King's Crusade's only got 52. I'm not so sure how he got into the race as well as he did, but if you look at the Cop form, he really should win, or certainly have them beaten anyway. So yeah, for me, very strong first choice, King's Crusade. But Captain looks big value now, especially as the 4-to-1's gone on King's Crusade. The value would lie for me in Captain.
Yeah, I thought Captain had a big chance. The other one I wanted to quickly touch on, Neil, was You Can't Hurry Love. Now, we've been at this for several times. He hasn't won for 1,019 days, but, and there's a but underlined and in bold, he is very capable on his day. And they put Kamalo back on, who's had some form with him. I'm not ruling this one out, even though he comes in with 59.5. Because he's the type of horse that can spring up.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He's sort of in my second wave of horses. I have him above. Funnily enough, I actually have him in my ratings above number 1 Supreme Dance, who's the second. So I agree with you. I have elevated him, as I have Prince Evlanoff. Now, Prince Evlanoff has been, I'm going to be polite, he's been a bit of a brass.
Yes.
Well, maybe that's a bit unfair, because he's won 4 races of 19 starts. Maybe it's just me. I picked him at the wrong time. But what I will say is that when he last won, where he beat Nebras, which admittedly was in October of last year, he won off an 89. He now finds himself with not the worst form in the book, having dropped down to an 84. So I do respect him. I like JP Van der Merwe as a rider. I said that when he came back. I think he's improved enormously. He's getting his winners. So I must respect Prince Evlanoff. But as I've said, they're only my third choice. King's Crusade, my first choice. Captain, my second.
Okay, let's go to race 6. We've only got 10 minutes of show left, so we're going to whip through the last 4 races. Race 6 is a classified stakes over 2,000 meters. Here, number 2, Vengeance Forever, no blinkers, no tongue tie. No blinkers and a tongue tie, though, goes on number 9, Last Cheer. So there's been a couple of equipment changes. Money for Vengeance Forever. I'm not surprised to see that, because I thought it had a chance into 4-to-1. But this is a classified stakes. You'd normally default to fillies. Are you going to be?
Well, there's a recurring theme here: 6, 7, 8, and 9, Nico. I think a lot of them are classified stakes races. I don't think race 7 is, but 8 and 9 are. And I looked at all the fillies in those races, and I hate to report it, but there's nothing that really stands out. I mean, you've got to respect the fillies here: Go Dream Machine and Angel C, because as you see in the best weighted column, and even Last Cheer and Liverpool Legend and Cape Bouquet, all of those 5 are fillies, and they're in the best weighted column. But I looked at, I think the class and the potential improvement lies with the younger 4-year-old Colts and Geldings, of which number 2, Vengeance Forever, is one, and Pierce Straden's Ride, number 3, Flag Bearer, is another. And then Keegan De Merlo, interesting, because De Merlo frequently rides for Hollywood. I don't know if he chose to ride Bally Magic, but for me, Bally Magic the 6 is perhaps the value in the race. He's getting 2 kilograms from Vengeance Forever, who, like you, I do give a chance to. But yeah, Bally Magic's 3rd run gelded. I think he'll run well. And Keegan is riding really.
Absolutely.
Apart from perhaps Muzzy, who's riding very well. I have to say Muzzy's riding. When he gets half a chance, he rides well. Yeah. But Keegan's at the top of his game at the moment.
Neil, who would your top filly be then? Yeah. Would it be Angel C?
No. Okay. No. Probably Go Dream Machine. Just.
Okay.
But neither with great confidence, Nico.
Okay. Okay, we're going to move on to the 7th race. You mentioned this wasn't a classified stakes. It is actually a pinnacle stakes for fillies and mares 12, and there'll be some nice horses sprinting up here. No changes in race 7, Neil. You've got the 9 to 10 favourite, the unbeaten Gobsmack. Well, she's been impressive at all her 3 starts. Give Me a Shot actually came out and franked the form when running a cracker the other day in that race with Desert Miracle and the eventual winner, the International Racing Club horse. What was it called again?
Humdinger.
Yeah. So Gobsmacked is the horse. We went through the ratings, strictly at the ratings. Actually, she should be getting more from the Sound of Warning and Full Velocity Brigade.
Yeah, I'm with the Tarry horses here. Number 1, Sound of Warning, and number 2, Full Velocity. Both are very capable on their day. I wouldn't be surprised. I would be gobsmacked if Gobsmacked won, but punters might be gobsmacked to hear that I'm actually leaning towards 1, Sound of Warning, and 2, Full Velocity, which I am. But I might be wrong. But
do you have a preference for either?
Look, if they were betting 5 to 2.
Yeah. Do you have a preference for any of the Tarry horses?
On form, Full Velocity, gut feeling, Sound of Warning. So that doesn't answer your question. I can't split them. I mean, it's really a decision made on betting. It's because Gobsmack's 9 to 10. I don't peg it as a 9 to 10 shot. If it was 16 to 10, 18 to 10, maybe a different equation. But I think Sound of Warning. You can back Sound of Warning and Full Velocity. You can back both of them. If either one wins, you make a profit.
Okay. So you're more with the Tarry horses than with Gobsmacked. I tend to agree with you there, although I think Gobsmacked has got a bit of class about it, but I think that it should be getting more weight, even though it's getting a lot. Okay, race 8 is a classified stakes race, 1,450 meters, runs at 3:45. There is one scratching, rather. Number 7, Mr. Bodacious is out here. I'm going to leave this completely to you. I haven't looked at it at all. What do you like?
Well, Mr. Bodacious is interesting because he was a maiden running in classified stakes company, but that becomes a moot point. Don't like the race at all, Nico. But by the time we get here, you and I are both hoping. We're both hoping that Joe Soma's already had a good day.
Yes.
We like some of his horses early on. Now, if he has had a good day and we come to this race, I can imagine Rule by the Force will have shortened because there'll be doubles, trebles, etc. going on. So I think he's got a lot of pudding to carry here. He was impressive on debut, but he's got to shoulder 60 kilograms here. But if he's that good, he could easily follow up because he's meeting some exposed horses here. I mean, Iron Tail's towards 17 starts, Power Rangers at 16. So the handicapper is familiar with them. He knows where they are. Timbavati River, who I gave a bit of an upset chance to, has had 19 starts. The fillies in the race, a classified stakes race, you've got to respect Pierre Stradom on Speechmaker. Speechmaker is the best handicapped in the race because it's a classified stakes race. The other filly, Rose Willow's got no weight, but a terrible draw. So Dark Tide, perhaps worthy of a mention. I like the booking of Calvin Habib from a good draw, but I didn't like the race. Did not like the race at all.
So you're advised to go as many as possible there in that 8th race now?
Yeah, I would go wide.
Okay, then we come to the lucky last, the classified stakes over 1,450. In the last race, there are 2 scratchings, 3 Johnny Dogs and 8 Rattlebags. So it leaves 11 runners here. And all the money has been for Arrivederci. Now, they've priced up Kalahari Blue, the favorite, 14 to 10 and almost 2.5 to 1 Arrivederci. That's the way they priced them up. So now Arrivederci is into evens. And they've swapped around Kalahari Blue out to 18 to 10. Did you think these were the 2 to fight it out?
Yeah, I did, Nico. Again, because, it's a classified stakes race. If I look at the fillies in the race, none of them are going to Hollywood and none of them have been to Hollywood. You've got Big City Girl, you've got Fascinata, Java House, you speak about endlessly. Hang on, let me have a look now. 858 days since last win.
Yeah.
Time for that. Actually, Time for that was my roughie in the race, but then I looked again. She's under sufferance, so perhaps she might be waiting for a better race, which suits her better. So yeah, I defaulted back to these 2. I think they're both pretty useful. Interestingly enough, before the betting move, Kalahari Blue was probably my first choice and Arrivederci my second choice, but they were well clear of the others. I'm going to totally revise that, but I'm going to go the two horses. I think I was going to do number 2, Kalahari Blue, a banker in the PA. I think I'll put 1 and 2 both in now. Because that's a lot of money, and you got to respect the money for Arrivederci. But I mean, she's got to give. He has got to give Kalahari Blue 2 kilograms. So interesting that they think he can give him 2 kilograms and a beating.
Yeah. Well, I think it does. Those are the 2 class horses in the race. I don't think much else really springs off the page there, and I think that will end it for us. Neil, the 1 and the 2 pretty much the same level pegging as they were really in the betting. They really both deserve their both to get a big mention over here. Okay, well, with 1.5 minutes to go till the end of the show, we're wishing you a pleasant week. I know we're obviously got Natal racing Tuesday, Wednesday, so the Ghost Rider will be working furiously at that and be doing his selections for not only us but also for his private subscribers. And then I think we're Thursday at the Val, and then Friday's the big Algoa Cup meeting, and we're looking forward to doing the tips for that.
Okay, yeah, Algoa Cup on Friday. No, it's a big week, and then, as you say, the On a Mission charity mile on the weekend is good. What time does your cricket start today, Nico? Is it
at 10 a.m. So we're speaking to you before that, so it starts in a couple of hours. But Neil, just wanted to thank you for your time, and we'll catch up again soon. Thanks very much for your efforts.
Thanks, Nico. Thanks, everyone.